All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tempe City Council regular council meeting, virtual, on Thursday, November 12th. The time is now 6:26. We apologize for being a little bit late. We had to finish an executive session upstairs or just in a different room. Due to concerns over exposure to the coronavirus, the city has implemented measures to protect our community, including the closing of council chambers and limiting public attendance to electronic means only. Members of the public may view the live meeting proceedings on Tempe Channel 11 or attend virtually through Cisco WebEx events by visiting www.tempe.gov/clerk for more information. Item number 1 here we have is the moment of silence. Let's just take a moment and have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Item number 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I will go ahead and lead here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Next up, item number 3, meeting minutes. I'm going to be assisted tonight by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. We first up have item number 3A, which is approval of city council meeting minutes, of which there are none. But Councilmember Arredondo Savage, do I have a motion to accept item 3B?
Yes, you do, Mayor. I'd like to move approval of item 3B, 1 through 16.
Great. Thank you so much, Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Kubi. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call vote. And I also want to note that Vice Mayor Keating is not here this evening, so I will just go with the folks who are here. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Kubi?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye.
Councilmember Adams?
Councilmember Adams is still having issues with her mic.
Okay, just wanted to check. Okay, and I vote aye as well. So that vote passes 5-0 with Councilmember Adams and Vice Mayor Keating absent. Next up, item 4, reports and announcements. So let's see, there's 2 appointments to the Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission as outlined on item 5A1 on the agenda. Hold on one second here. Having a little technical issue on my end. Okay, hold on. Now I'm having a real glitch over here. All right, seeing the glitch on my end, whatever, I'm just going to go ahead and move forward with item 4B, and I can probably come back to that a little bit later, which are city manager's reports and announcements. Mr. City Manager, any announcements?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I just have one announcement to make this evening. I wanted to announce with some regret, but mostly great congratulations to Ralph Remington that he has been selected to be the Director of Cultural Affairs for the City and County of San Francisco. He will be leaving us at the end of December as the Deputy Director of Community Services for Arts and Culture. During Ralph's tenure, he's done a lot of very innovative and groundbreaking things and really worked hard to create equity and inclusion in arts in Tempe, and I'm very appreciative for that. And I wish him all the best in his exciting new adventure in San Francisco. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. All right, next up here we have, actually I was going to ask Mr. City Manager, anything regarding a renewable energy update, whatever, because I see that on the agenda here.
That is correct. Sorry, I said that was all I had, but there is obviously more. So I'll go ahead and turn it up. Apologize for that. I will go ahead and turn that over to staff. I believe Grace Kelly is here, as well as Braden Kay, and they will present the renewable energy update. My apologies.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Grace Belmonte Kelly, Energy Management Coordinator, and I'm here with Sustainability Director Braden Kay. We appreciate the opportunity to provide a renewable energy update. Next slide. The performance measure that aligns to this is 4.19, achieve the City Council goal of carbon neutrality in municipal operations by 2050, with a strategy of 100% renewable energy by 2035. Council adopted this goal in 2018, and 1 year later, Council adopted a goal to achieve community carbon neutrality by 2060. So this update is focused on the goal for municipal operations. Next slide.
Mr. Mayor, if I'm having problems with the sound.
Yeah, no, I was sorry. I was going to break in right there. Yeah, it seems like Grace, there's some feedback we're getting where it almost sounds like we're getting wind in the background that's evidence of all these sustainability measures we've got going on. So we're having a hard time hearing you. So
They're getting feedback.
Mayor, I have identified the feedback. Grace, you should be okay. Just speak a little louder into the microphone, please.
Okay, yeah, I'll speak a little louder. All right. The city has the city has 9 solar systems installed on city properties. 3 are city-owned. They are Fire Station number 7, East Valley Bus Operations Maintenance Facility Guardhouse, and the Tempe Beach Park Solar Ramada. Tempe Fire Station number 7 is the city's most recent solar project. The 20 kilowatt solar carports provide 40% of the building's energy needs. Next slide. There are 6 solar sites that were built with power purchase agreements between 2014 and 2018. With power purchase agreements, the city hosts the property, the solar developer builds and maintains the system, and the city agrees to purchase power from the system for 20 years at a fixed rate. Next slide. This chart shows all of the city's solar sites, including the 6 that were built with power purchase agreements. The city has a total of 4.14 megawatts of solar installed at city sites. Through Council's commitment and investment in renewable energy, the city reached 10% toward Council's 100% goal. Next slide. Energy efficiency is an important part of reaching carbon neutrality in city operations. In 2018, we conducted a municipal greenhouse gas emissions inventory based on 2015 calendar year data as part of a climate action plan. City buildings, outdoor lighting, and water treatment account for 70% of the city's carbon emissions. 29% is from the city vehicle fleet, transit fleet, and employee commute. Because buildings, outdoor lighting, and water treatment are the majority of the municipal carbon footprint, staff is focused on ways to reduce energy use in these areas. Next slide. Staff in facilities, parks, water, transportation, and transit are doing excellent work in replacing lighting with LED lighting, replacing air conditioning with more efficient equipment, installing building controls, and doing retro commissioning. Retro commissioning involves energy efficiency in older buildings as buildings get out of balance over time. Overall, reducing energy use is a city-wide effort. Next slide. Electricity costs almost doubled between 2000 and 2010. In 2010, it was projected that costs would double between 2010 and 2020. But instead, electricity costs flatlined in the last 10 years as a result of the city's energy efficiency and renewable energy investments. Next slide. While costs have remained the same as 10 years ago, energy coming from fossil fuels is decreasing, while more and more of city operations are powered with renewable energy. By 2023, it is projected that 17% of city operations will be powered from renewable energy sources. Now Braden Kay will talk about future solar projects. Next slide.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we're working on a variety of future solar projects. One of the next projects is a utility scale project with SRP. SRP has been an incredible partner. They've offered the city an opportunity to invest in a 100 megawatt utility scale solar plant being built in Eloy. You see a picture of a partner, a cousin of the Eloy project in Florence. The Eloy project is going to be several times the size of what you see in the slide here. Council approved the agreement last year, and the plant will be operational by December 2021. Once this is online, the city will have 17%, will be 17% towards its 100% goal. We also plan to install solar panels on the reservoir roofs at the saltwater treatment plant and at the new fire station number 2. One of the actions in the climate action plan is the concept of resilient energy hubs. This is a cooling center that can be powered by solar with battery storage to serve as a place of refuge for vulnerable populations in case of emergency. At the new Envision Resilience Hub at Apache and Dorsey, Human Services will provide workforce development training, and it will act as a cooling center during extreme heat emergencies. This building will act as a resilience hub, and we were looking at adding a solar carport and potential battery storage. Next slide. So on this roadmap, you can see the sites highlighted in blue show how we plan to reach 20% in the next few years with the SRP project, the Envision Resilience Hub, Fire Station number 2, and the South Water Plant. And then to achieve 100%, it's going to require partnering with our utility partners on those large scale projects like the one in Eloy, both doing that with APS and SRP. Next slide. So in terms of next steps, we will update the municipal greenhouse gas inventory to see how much progress we're making using 2020 data in comparison to the 2015 data that we collected with the last climate action plan. We're working with facilities, engineering, and the Office of Sustainability to produce a facility sustainability plan, which will help us with identify areas of opportunity for energy efficiency and renewables. We will continue to work on energy efficiency, including this pilot with the Resilient Energy Hub. We're deeply grateful to our utility partners, and we're going to continue to work with SRP and APS on renewable energy, energy efficiency, and electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Braden. Thank you, Grace. Really appreciate it. Before we move forward, does anyone from council have any comments or questions for either before we move forward with the consent agenda?
I do, Mr. Mayor. It's Lauren.
Yes, Councilmember Cubie.
And thank you so much, Braden and Grace. You are the stalwarts. You are so patient. And you'll know, because I know you're frustrated with this seeming lack of progress. And we're at 4% now, 17% next year. That is a big jump. And we will be, if we're going to be at 39% in 2030, I mean, that is definitely an improvement, but that means we have to get the other 61% in the next 5 years after that. And I don't need to tell you we're in a climate emergency. And so it concerns me about, I mean, I'd like to see increased investment. I know we're constrained, especially during COVID times, but I also know we have some of the most brilliant minds in solar in our university, and we have possibilities to look at for microgrids and community-based solar and all the rest. So I would just want to spur you on and thank you for all your hard work. And I know you want to do so much more. We all want to do so much more. And I just don't want to lose sight of our 100% goal by 2035. And thank you for all that you're contributing. And I don't want this in any way to look like a criticism, because I know that you operate under the resources that we provide you. But I'm just hopeful that we'll really focus on this goal, because it'll be much better for our city and for our residents. And I also want to add that within our own city operations, we have the opportunity to look at revolving funds. We have a case of Kevin Devery, who is our fleet manager. He single-handedly got us to a 6% electric fleet and leading the East Valley, I believe, with very little, supplemental input there. And so I think a good idea for him he saved so much at M&O. His idea was, and this is when he was here, why not take some of the money I saved, let's put it into a pot of money, and then I can buy more electric vehicles. And I do believe, I don't know how our finance director feels about revolving funds, but I know with Microsoft, with the larger companies, they have revolving funds within the company, and they basically reward departments who are fulfilling these renewable energy goals, and they reward them with more investment, and that has an effect to really double down and help get towards those energy goals, renewable energy goals, and carbon neutrality goals. So I just urge consideration of that. And then within the committee coming up, the new committee structure, I'm hoping we can help advance your goal, because I know it's your heart and soul, Grace and Braden. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Cubie. Any other council members, any comments or questions? All right, hearing none, just wanted to thank Braden and Grace. Thank you so much, I mean, seriously, for shepherding all of our city's sustainability efforts. You both do truly an exceptional job at putting Tempe at the head of the pack when it comes to sustainability, not only in the East Valley, but frankly in Arizona and our country. And just really looking forward to continuing to work with you to make all of these initiatives a reality and even more. So thank you so much for all of your hard but an incredible work.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, next up here, we have item number 5, which is the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and will be enacted with one motion by the City Council unless an item is removed for separate consideration. Members of the public may remove public hearing items for separate consideration. Public hearing items are designated by an asterisk, and council members may remove any item for separate consideration or to declare a conflict of interest. If a council member would like to declare a conflict at this time, the city clerk will provide the council member with a disclosure form. The public may also submit written comments via the City of Tempe speaker comment card system on tempe.gov/clerk. With that said, as chair of the meeting, I would like to pull a few items from the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, I'm going to pull off for tonight items 5A2, 5A4, 5C7, and 5C8. So just to explain a little bit more for residents why I'm pulling those items, 5A2 relates to the council rules of procedure. This item is going to be postponed to the December 3rd, 2020 regular council meeting to allow for our staff to finalize the START tool results that'll inform our new committee structure. I'd also like to thank the council and want them all to be present when we start voting on this item, due to this vote actually requiring an affirmative vote of at least 2/3 of council. So I want to make sure that everyone is here for that. On item 5A4, which is the plat for Tempe Market Station, this item is postponed to the December 3rd, 2020 council meeting at the request of the applicant and will not be voted upon at this meeting. For items 5C7 and 5C8, which are both pertaining to the election canvass, these items are postponed to a special meeting on November 19th, 2020 and will not be voted upon tonight. Do any council members have any other items that they would like to have pulled? All right, hearing none, I'm going to move forward to announce the consent agenda, which is miscellaneous items 5A through 5A9, with the exception of item 5A4, as I said, which the applicant has requested a continuance to the December 3rd, 2020 regular council meeting. Awards of bids and contracts, items 5B1 through 5B7, and resolutions, item 5C1 to 5C8, with the exception of items 5C7 and 5C8, which have been continued at the request of staff to a special meeting to be held on November 19th, 2020. I also failed to mention whatever we're talking about, once again, miscellaneous items 5A1 through 5A9, not only 5A4, but as I mentioned before, also 5A2. Any item marked with an asterisk is a public hearing item and can be removed by a member of the public for separate consideration. Council, I didn't hear any items that you would like to have removed.
When she passed away,
I don't know what that was about.
If there's no issues, I'd like to move for approval.
All right.
Second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Garland. So we are going to, so the consent agenda, with the exception of items 5A2, 5A4, 5C7, and 5C8, has been moved by Councilmember Navarro and seconded by Councilmember Garland. Did I say Councilmember Navarro? I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage? Councilmember Adams?
She's still running some issues with her mic. She's getting on soon.
All right, then I will vote aye as well. That motion passes 5-0 with Vice Mayor Keating and Councilmember Adams absent. All right, next up here. Give me 1 second to get a little bit further down. All right. Moving on to item number 6 here, which is the non-consent agenda. All items listed on the non-consent agenda will be considered separately. Agenda items scheduled for introduction and first public hearing will be heard but will not be voted upon at this meeting. Agenda items scheduled for second public hearing and final adoption will be voted upon tonight. Council members who may have a conflict of interest may abstain from voting on a matter, and the city clerk will provide the council members with a disclosure form at this time. The first item under this section is item 6A1, which is miscellaneous items, bids, contracts, and resolutions. Item 6A1 is to approve a one-year contract renewal with staffing specialists to provide temporary CDL, which is commercial driver's license, certified drivers to supplement city staff in the operation of refuse vehicles. Council, any comments or discussion? All right, hearing none. Do I have a motion on item 6A1?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cubie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Garland. We'll go ahead and call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Mayor, are we voting on this or is this first hearing? I'm sorry, I misread.
Let's see. Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, are we voting on
The Section A items are for vote. 6B are the first hearings.
Okay, sounds good. Wanted to clarify.
Aye.
All right. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye.
Councilmember Adams? And I will vote aye as well. Item 6A1 passes 5-0 with Vice Mayor Keating and Councilmember Adams absent. The next item under the section is 6A2, which is to approve one-year contract renewals with HSWRR Incorporated, New Flow Services of Phoenix, and RKS Plumbing and Mechanical for plumbing work associated with the Service Line Protection Program and Water Sewer Program. Council, any comments or discussion?
Mr. Mayor, it's Lauren.
Yes, Councilmember Cubie.
So I just had a question. I know we're going to go out for a bid, right, to have an outside slip program that would run independent of the city because it's financially more better for the city. Isn't that true? So does that affect this contract renewal? We locked into doing one more year of slip ourselves?
Sounds good. Well, let me call upon, is staff here to make a presentation on this item and to answer Councilmember Cubie's question?
Julian is on the panels now. You can go ahead and speak, Julian.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You're correct. We are going out to RFP for the SLIP program. This just gives us a spending authority to continue the program until that time that we're able to adopt that RFP program or select someone and move forward with that. Also, our water group uses these contracts.
Thank you, Julian. Move to other discussion. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. The item has been moved to approve by Councilmember Cubie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Garland. I'm going to go ahead then and do a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage? I think that was an aye I heard. Councilmember
Sorry,
Adams?
Mayor. Yes, aye.
There you go. Councilmember Adams? All right, and I vote aye as well. Item 6A2 passes 5-0 with Vice Mayor Keating and Councilmember Adams absent. Next up is item 6A3, which is to approve a one-year contract renewal with United Healthcare to provide group Medicare Advantage plans to eligible city retirees and their eligible dependents. Council, any comments or discussion? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion on item 6A3?
So moved.
Okay, sounds like moved by Councilmember Cubie and seconded by Councilmember Garland. I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Adams? And I vote aye as well. Item 6A3 passes 5-0 with Vice Mayor Keating and Councilmember Adams absent. Next item under the section is item 6A4, which is to award job order number 4 to FPS Civil LLC for the fiber optic installation downtown project located at 545 South Mill Avenue. Council, any comments or discussions on this item? Hearing none, do I have a motion on item 6A4?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cubie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Garland. I'm going to go ahead and call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye.
Councilmember Adams? And I vote
Mr.
aye.
Mayor, one sec. I want to do a quick test with Councilmember Adams. I'm going to unmute you, Councilmember Adams, on my end.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yay!
Excellent. So, Councilmember Adams, how do you vote on item 6A4?
I vote aye.
Perfect. And I vote aye as well. That item passes 6-0 with Vice Mayor Keating absent. The next item under the section is 6A5, which is to award a construction contract to Instaform Technologies LLC for the wastewater collection system rehabilitation 2020 project located at numerous locations throughout the city. Council, any comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to ask for a motion on item 6A5.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Garland, seconded by Councilmember Cubie. I'm going to go for a roll call vote here. Councilmember Navarro?
Aye.
Councilmember Cubie?
Aye.
Councilmember Garland?
Aye.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Aye.
Councilmember Adams?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Item 6A5 passes 6-0 with Vice Mayor Keating absent. Last item under the section is 6A6, which is to approve one-year contract renewals with Brintel Incorporated, Cal Pacific Carbon, LLC, Dubois Chemical Inc., Hill Brothers Chemical, Cam Group Incorporated, and Thatcher Company of Arizona Incorporated for the purchase of water treatment chemicals for the Municipal Utilities Department. Council, any comments or discussion on item 6A6?
Uh-oh, we've lost the mayor.
It seems like we have lost the mayor.
Cool, I'm going to take this thing over.
You go for it, Joel.
Am I back?
Yes, you are. Loud and clear.
My internet just bubbled for a second. I was sitting here, I'm like, this is weird. I can see myself, but no one can hear me. So, which is my worst nightmare. So let's just, item 6A, yes?
I said, I know the feeling.
You're not the only one tonight, Councilmember Adams.
Yeah.
All right, so item 6A6, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Navarro.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cubie. I'm going to go call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Navarro.
So moved.
Councilmember Cubie.
Aye.
Councilmember Garland.
Aye.
Councilmember Arenado Savage.
Mayor.
Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Item 6A6 passes 6-0 with Vice Mayor Keating absent. Next section on this agenda is the non-consent agenda. Ordinances and items for introduction and first hearing. These items will be read and introduced tonight, but no vote will be taken. The second hearing and final vote for these items is scheduled for December 3rd, 2020. The first item in this section is item 6B1, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance extending and increasing the corporate limits of the City of Tempe, Maricopa County, State of Arizona, pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7, Arizona Revised Statutes, as amended, by annexing 3.75 acres identified by APN 301-60-052B with an address of 1230 West Caroline Lane. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for December 3rd, 2020. Would the council like to see a presentation from the applicant? All right, hearing none. Madam Clerk, were there any comments received from the public regarding this item?
Yes, Mayor. I do have an attorney representing the applicant, Brendan Ray, who's online if you have any questions for him. I do have one card to read into the record, so whichever order you'd like to.
Seems like the council was not requesting a presentation at this time, so let's just go ahead with the public comment card.
Certainly. Public comment comes from Annika, resident of Tempe. She requests a request to annex 1230 West Caroline Lane. The ownership of the property and develop from horse ranch into.
You're breaking up, so we're hearing probably about every third word.
My turn, huh?
Something is wrong with the internet. The Wi-Fi is not our friend. So, Carl, let's maybe try again.
Okay, is it?
No, unfortunately, still kind of the same. Is there any way you could? Is there any way you could send the card to me or pass it off to Alex, perhaps?
Carla must be in the midst of checking her mic.
Okay.
Stand by.
Was everyone else hearing too?
Yeah, is there a ghost in the machine tonight?
I'm kind of beginning to wonder, Council.
Gremlins?
Feeling rather haunted. Carla, are you back yet?
We'll hear from the applicant then, Mr. Mayor, while we're waiting.
Sure, if you'd like. Okay. So we have the applicant on the line as a panelist. Would they like to give a presentation or just introduce themselves? Oh, this is definitely very interesting.
Carla just returned and she needs to pass control back to me. One moment.
Okay. Won't everybody be very happy when COVID is over and we have in-person meetings again?
Carla, would you make me a host again on WebEx, please?
Alex, do you by chance have access to the public comment card?
Stand by, sir. Let me take a look.
Okay, because if you have it, if you could send it to me, I'm more than happy to read it into the record.
It appears that Carla has just sent you a copy of the comment card.
Got it. Okay, let me take a look here. Okay, let me just see if I can pull this up on my phone. Okay. All right, so the comment card here is from Annika Ryan. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And just want she wanted her comment read for the record. Please oppose the request to annex 1230 West Caroline Lane. The applicant and ownership of the property intend to develop from a horse ranch into 30 single-family detached units. Although the annexation request is technically a separate matter from development, it is still worth considering that they intend to develop in a way that's against our neighborhood's character. Will annexation inevitably lead to rezoning and development? Development of that property will cause major traffic, safety, and noise concerns, but there are also 3 great horned owls that live and nest in the large trees above the street that hunt for field mice on this land. We cannot put their habitat at risk. All right. Thank you, Ms. Ryan, for your public comment. Alex, do we know if there's any other public comments on this item?
I don't believe so, Mr. Mayor.
Because I have another one listed here in my notes, but one from Philip Yates, but I don't see one, but I don't hear one.
Philip Yates is present in the meeting.
Okay. Let me ask, does Philip, does he want to speak to item 6B1? That's the note that I have here. If he wants to, he's more than welcome to, and he would have 3 minutes.
I will unmute Philip now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Very good, very good. Actually, this isn't one of the items on the agenda this evening that I would like to speak to. There's only one that I would like to speak to, and that is 6B4. I'm not sure what the problem was with that, but anyhow, yeah, it's just 6B4.
Sounds good, Mr. Yates. We'll definitely come back around to you with 6B4. Thank you so much. All right, Councilmember Cubie, I know you had requested, did you want to see a presentation from the applicant?
No, I'm just looking to fill that awkward gap of time.
Okay. I thought that's might have been what it was, but I wanted to circle back with you just to be safe, so thank you. All right, so with that said, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Any comments or discussions from council on item 6B1? I will take that ding as a no. All right, so moving on here, we're going to go to item 6B2, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the dedication of certain city-owned land located near the intersection of Priest Drive and Grove Parkway related to the Priest Drive Grove Parkway roundabout project for use as public right-of-way and authorizing the city engineer to execute a declaration memorializing such dedication and related documents. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for December 3rd, 2020. Any comments received on item 6B2?
None, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Great. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? All right. Hearing none.
Oh, sorry, we don't vote. Never mind.
Nope. Okay. All right, I'm going to move on then to item 6B3, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a code text amendment to the Zoning and Development Code consisting of modifications to the home occupation allowed uses and definitions for beauty salons and barbershops. The applicant is the city of Tempe. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for December 3rd, 2020. Madam Clerk, I believe we have Nando Garcia as for a public comment.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
One moment, sir, while I locate him. 1 sec.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Yes, hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Garcia.
So this is my first time doing something like this, so please bear with me. But I just wanted to actually introduce myself. I am a previous owner of a salon in downtown Phoenix that I had to close down due to COVID, and trying to sustain through this pandemic. And one of my options is doing a home salon that our State Board of Cosmetology allows us to do, which I've already been approved for. And through their regulations, and they're pretty strict, it's not going to be something that would be done at a kitchen table or anything. It would be a professional room, a room designated for a home salon with salon chair and shampoo. So it's a professional setting. And so I just wanted to introduce myself and tell people this is a real struggle for me right now because of what's going on in our pandemic. So I'm trying to be a productive citizen, but I need help. So I'm hoping to allow, since the Board of Cosmetology already allows it, is also the city of Tempe to allow me to perform hair services, professional hair services in my home. And if anybody has any questions, because I imagine there are, feel free to ask so I can educate if I need to.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Garcia. Really appreciate it. Staff, does anyone from our staff want to make a statement regarding item 6B3?
Mr. Mayor, I'm looking through our audience right now. Stand by.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question.
Yes, Councilmember Cubie.
I'm very sympathetic to your appeal to the request. I just wanted to ask, so do you then have to get a different kind of insurance for your home to protect you in case of any liabilities?
Yes, that is correct. It would be an insurance that would cover for services, and it's an additional insurance coverage, which I've already looked into and waiting for my policy to come through as well with the insurance provider.
Excellent. Councilmember Cubie, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Sounds good. It sounds like we don't, and there's no need from council for a staff presentation at the moment, so it sounds like we're okay on that front. And Mr. Garcia, just wanted to thank you very much for coming forward this evening.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Mr. Mayor, Chad Weaver is on the panel to comment as well.
If you'd like to speak as well.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is Chad Weaver, Community Development. The item is fairly simple. We heard from Mr. Garcia and a few others interested in home occupations. His in particular was expressly forbidden in the code, and so this code text amendment will remove those from being forbidden. So you could do hair, barbershop, beauty shop in your home, pursuant to the state rules that he mentioned. And there's also another item that came up originally at the Neighborhood Advisory Commission, which is where we first took this item, related to parking. And so the way we crafted that, and the DRC supported it, was a use permit so that you could do an additional customer parking stall. And the use permit allows us to consider where that location is and how big a parking problem there might be. Obviously in South Tempe, you might have driveway spaces. In North Tempe, you might have on-street spaces that are sparse. So that would be a consideration at that point.
Great. Thank you, Chad. Really appreciate it.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Navarro.
Yeah, that was my question. There's parking, but also the location of the house. I'm not seeing it, or I'm misreading it.
Councilmember, there is no specific location at hand. This is a general amendment that would allow anyone to do a home occupation to cut hair in their home pursuant to state licensing. If the parking issue came up, then someone would come in with a use permit specific to an address to ask for that approval.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, Councilmember Garland.
I actually have a couple questions. I'm very sorry for the business that Mr. Garcia has and the difficulty that many people are having right now. My question is, if we change this ordinance, does it go back to the current ordinance after the idea of COVID goes away? That's one question. The other one is, the reason why we have these kinds of codes is so that neighborhoods stay neighborhoods and they don't turn into businesses. So I want to know what kind of input the neighbors are going to be able to have if a business opens up with the comings and goings. And I'm not specifically talking about Mr. Garcia, but any other business that comes in that's a hair salon, that now that we made these changes, they're going to have all these cars coming and going in neighborhoods, and then we lose the flavor of the neighborhood. The other one is, do neighborhood CC&Rs override the ordinance from the city of Tempe? So just take my neighborhood, for example. You can't run a business and there's some specific things about this, but if you change the ordinance, does that overrule our neighborhood CC&Rs that says it doesn't matter what our neighborhood requests or wants? Now the city ordinance is in effect, and that our neighborhood would not have a say.
Mayor, Councilmember Garland, those are all good questions. So the answer to the first one is no. The way it's written now, it would not revert back at the end of COVID or whatever pandemic situation we have going on. When we brought this about, we expected there to be some good discussion and weren't sure that the discussion would all be positive. But when we took it to the Neighborhood Advisory Commission, they voted in favor 9-2 of this measure. And that issue was discussed briefly, as I recall, and there was support for allowing this additional use as a home occupation generally, without regard to the current pandemic. The discussion at the DRC was similar. I believe that came up again, and they elected to move it forward as a permanent code change measure. In terms of the operation in neighborhoods, things like that, I guess from a staff perspective, we see this the same as other home occupations. There are a number of home occupations that are allowed currently. There are some regulations on those. This use would be subject to those regulations as well. Again, the parking is restricted to one customer at this point. They would have to come in and have a special approval and plans that would be approved and reviewed in order to even have two customers. Otherwise, this would be subject to the same rules as the other current home occupations. And lastly, in regards to the homeowners associations, our rules cover what we would enforce. So if you have an HOA that doesn't allow a barbershop, for instance, and this was approved, we would not enforce on that barbershop in a neighborhood. The HOA would be forced to deal with that. It would be not dissimilar to some trail issues we have going on now, which can be problematic, obviously, finding out who is responsible. But there are probably HOAs now that have prohibitions on certain home occupations that the city allows, and that would be a similar situation. It would be up to the HOA to handle that privately.
So the HOA would be able to say, even though the city approved this, it's not approved in our governing documents, so we do not have to allow it, correct?
Well, I want to state that I'm not a lawyer, but yes, I think that is how it works. There are oftentimes HOA rules that are stricter than city rules. Now, the success level they have enforcing those, I couldn't speak to, but yes, that does sometimes the case where those rules are stricter than city code.
And so my other, and this is just a thought again, is just, we make these changes for one business and then another business decides that it's, that it would be easier for them to be able to work out of their home. I'm just wondering if this can cause a slippery slope. I'm new on the council, so you can probably tell me that maybe wouldn't happen, but I'm sympathetic and I'm very sorry for the difficulty that people are having, but I just want to make sure that we're really doing our best to preserve our neighborhoods as neighborhoods. So thank you.
I can't tell you that wouldn't happen. I think it would be reasonable to discuss that going forward. We expected, frankly, to have a little more discussion with both the NAC and the DRC, and their kind of resounding support caught us a little off guard. We thought we might get a little more pushback or a little more question like that. So there are options here, certainly, if the council is predisposed to slow this down a minute to consider other options. There are a lot of other occupations, I suppose, that folks might come forward with. I would just ask the council to balance that with the need for this particular use, but your questions are all perfectly valid.
All right, thank you. And I did speak to a couple people on the Neighborhood Advisory Commission only because they had called me and wanted to talk to me about this. So I have spoken to them, and they're not all as excited as and in favor as the vote may seem. I just want to say that. Thank you so much, Chad. I appreciate your answering the questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Let's see, Judy Bauman, our city attorney, are you there?
I am, Mayor.
Judy, I was going to ask you regarding Councilmember Garland's question. Is there a possibility we could have for our next executive session on December 3rd, maybe a conversation regarding some of the legal implications between, how this would work, whatever, and how it sort of kind of overlays, I guess, is sort of the word I'm thinking of with homeowners associations, just so the council can have a full understanding from a legal standpoint?
Sure, I would be happy to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, anyone from, let's see, I see some of the hands here. Councilmember Cubie?
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask why nail salons or facialists wouldn't be afforded the same privilege or opportunity, because I know they're facing some of the same issues, and we're talking about, one customer. We're not talking about hordes of, opening a full shop. So I'm wondering why we can't include nail salons and estheticians.
Yes, Chad, I'll let you speak to that.
Sure, Mayor, council member. We can look into that. I know I can get back to you before the next time this comes around. I think there was some discussion, and I'll converse with Ryan probably about treating some other similar things similarly. We don't necessarily describe every use clearly in the code, so some we have to lump together. So I can get you a response back on that particular use if you'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. Councilmember Adams?
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. So I just want to say that I'm in support of this. I think we need to do everything we can to keep our small businesses alive and well in our community. These are really difficult times for so many. And I am a huge advocate for neighborhoods. And I do think that one car at a time would not be disruptive to a neighborhood. And so I would encourage that we support this and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Councilmember Navarro?
Thank you, Mayor. And this is great. It's our first reading on this, so just ask some questions. But if I'm to ask this, if this was to go forward, could it be for a year-long evaluation to come back, or because I think Councilmember Garland raises some great questions on just what does this do to neighborhoods and the impact of neighborhoods. And in the short term, I could say, yeah, let's try everything. Let's open this up so that salons and barbershops, but we kind of open the box up to a lot of other things, which is probably the bigger concern is what are those other things that we don't know of. So I think that having our legal discussion at each session would be appropriate. My first thought is a year-long test on this and maybe evaluation after that. But we'll have that discussion in e-session. I think would be appropriate. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Arredondo Savage?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think there's definitely been some good questions brought up here tonight. I certainly do support our local businesses and want all of our business owners to really have the opportunity to be successful, whether they're in a storefront or we're out of their home. So I'm certainly open to this idea for sure, no question about that. I do worry though a little bit about the legalities in regards to the HOAs. I think Councilmember Garland brought up a really good point. At least I think we need to have that vetted out a little bit more, and I'd like to have that information back before we make a final decision, just to ensure that we're not creating any more problems with good intent. But the unintended consequences may be something that we should at least have on the radar. So I certainly support looking into that a little bit deeper. And also, the expansion of other types of services. I think we need to be prepared if they come forward, and also would like the same type of code amendment. Are we going to be able to do that too? Do we want to be able to do that, or is this just going to be limited? So I think hearing from community development would be good about that. And also, I'm not opposed to Councilmember Navarro's idea of maybe doing something for a year, making sure that we have a chance to check in and see how it's working and that there's no complaints within the neighborhood or we're causing, like I said, any unintended consequences. Though I do understand sometimes when you do create a business out of your home, there is an investment in that to probably make some arrangements within your home to make it suitable for your service that you're providing. So I certainly do respect and understand that too, and don't want to set people up and take something away, but at least be very clear and transparent of what we're trying to do right now in the middle of a pandemic. So I think we need to vet this out just a little bit more, Mayor. I would like to get those questions answered and certainly look into something that might sunset within the year also. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Councilmember Adams?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councilmember Arredondo Savage's suggestion about getting more information, vetting this out more. I think that's a good idea. And I also agree with Councilmember Navarro's suggestion that if we do move forward on this, that we have it be for a year and then reevaluate after that time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Adams. All right, any other council members, any comments or questions? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing on that. And yeah, given the fact that this is only the first public hearing, we're not going to take a yeah, yes.
And there's just something that's gnawing at me. I just have to say, just like, so often the big guy, the big businesses and corporations, they get so many benefits and the PPP and so much of that. And so I just think we have to focus sometimes on the mom and pops, and these small businesses are mom and pops, and they're incredibly small. They'd be allowed, one customer at a time. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. All right, once again, this item is not going to be voted on this evening. It's only the first public hearing. And as we talked about, we'll have an executive session on December 3rd to talk about some of the legality issues in terms of overlap with HOAs, and just sort of Chad will go back and also explore some of the comments and questions that council had this evening, and we'll come back and talk about this on December 3rd. So moving forward, the last item in this section is item 6B4, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a planned area development overlay and a development plan review consisting of a 17-story office tower and an 18-story hotel tower with ground floor retail and a 7-level above-grade parking structure, including the preservation and rehabilitation of an existing train depot structure with an approximately 993,000 square feet of building area for Tempe Depot, located at 300 South Ash Avenue. The applicant is E&R Holdings. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for December 3rd, 2020. Looks like the applicant is here to make a statement. We have Manjula Vaz, Barry Shanahan, and John Tran. Who would like to make a statement?
Mr. Mayor, for your record, Manjula Vaz, the law firm Gamage and Burnham. My address is, for the record, 40 North Central, Phoenix 85004. And I'm here on behalf of E&R Holdings. I'm happy to make a presentation. I'm happy to let Mr. Yates go first. What would you prefer, or the council prefer?
I think, thank you, Ms. Voss. I think let's let Mr. Yates make his comment. I think we have two comments, I believe, Madam Clerk. Okay. It's from Philip Yates and from Merrill Darcy.
That's correct, Mayor. I'm going to be reading Merrill Darcy's comment into the record, and you can let Mr. Yates go first if you like.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Yates, step on back up here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. For the record, my name is Philip Yates, and I am the chair for Riverside Neighborhood Association. I just have to backtrack a little bit about my family heritage. Okay, I am a 5th generation Tempean, and this whole project has been designed right next to 5 of the oldest houses that actually were relocated to where they are now. First being the Frankenberg House, which was built in 1909. Second was the Longhouse, and that was built in 1910. Third is the Samson Tucker House, and that was built in, oh gosh, let's see here. 1894. Fourth was the JRN, and that was built in 1889. And this one, actually, my great-great-grandfather designed and built in 1888. Anyhow, all these are very, very historic houses that are right next to where this has been proposed. And this would just be a blatant disregard for historic preservation. It would definitely cause significant traffic in that general vicinity, my neighborhood. Anyhow, also, this is it's just not a good idea to have a 17-story building right next to Riverside neighborhood. I realize that it covers the station, the train station there, but these are all tandem parking areas, and this is great area for anybody that wants to go to the airport to park their cars. Everybody is going to be wanting to park there and just hop on the light rail and go to the airport, because parking at the airport is a nightmare. For anybody that has ever even gone to our airport, it is a nightmare. Second, the noise issue right there. We've got the train, we have the light rail. Of course, we have the flight path that is right above where it would be that the offices and, of course, the hotel that is being proposed. Those are all problematic situations for the area. The applicant actually stated that one of the best things that might be for a business on the first floor as you walk by would be a coffee house. Okay, I used to work for a coffee house. There's no way. I was a barista for a coffee house and for years, but and in any case, there is no way a coffee house could actually make it there. It just wouldn't financially work. They couldn't afford to have a coffee house. And this is, I can't believe that the city of Tempe would consider this as something that it would be advantageous for our city. It is the highest thing that I have ever seen since the W6. It is disgusting in the way that it looks. It's covered with nothing but glass, plexiglass, and it is going to reflect a lot of light out the sidewalks in the downtown area, and it is not going to fit the neighborhood or the city of Tempe in general. So I would certainly ask everybody to say no to this project. And with that, I'll close. If anybody else has any questions for me, I'd be willing to answer them.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Yates. Really appreciate it. Any comments for Mr. Yates before we go to our next speaker? All right, hearing none. Thank you so much, Mr. Yates. I'm going to turn to Carla to read the second card.
Okay, this card comes from Merrill Darcy, resident of Tempe. Merrill writes, do you realize you have the opportunity to make a landmark even greater? To make this property something truly iconic, far beyond someone's personal interests. You have permission to throw the old rules out and make something new and distinctive, but it requires your collaboration and vision. Why not dare to create something that the neighborhood and city would actually be proud of while fulfilling commercial interests? With the projected heights, if approved, this will be only 25 feet less than Hayden Butte at 311 feet. If this continues, Tempe will have to change its logo and corporate image when all this development towers over our signature landmark of Hayden Butte. Please consider a reasonable height for this project, as well as thinking forward to a future commuter rail station. And that closes out public comment for this item, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rees. So next up, I'm going to turn back to Ms. Voss, if you'd like to make a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me see if I can we'll do this. One sec. Okay, can you see this?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so again, for your record, Manjula Vaz, law firm of Gamage and Burnham. I'm going to give a brief presentation on the project. I will answer some of the questions. As I stated, I'm here tonight on behalf of ENR Holdings, which is a company affiliated with Red Development. Red Development is a privately held real estate company. They have built high quality mixed use developments with 29 properties with over 12 million square feet in 11 states. Their signature project, which I'm going to show you, includes Cityscape and Block 23 in downtown Phoenix, and then the Union Dallas in uptown Phoenix. I think many of you have seen Cityscape in downtown Phoenix is just at basically central and between Washington and Jefferson, across from Suns Arena. This is the place, although not this year, but they usually have an ice skating rink along Central, and certainly a large mixed-use development with the office and the Palomar Hotel. And then recently, we're finishing completion on Block 23, which is the original town site for the city of Phoenix. And that site is anchored by the downtown's first grocery store, which is a Fry's grocery store. So you can see the quality, high quality of projects that Red builds that are complex projects in a mixed-use environment. This picture of the Union Dallas, again, also anchored by a grocery store, hotel, and office. And they also building, just as an aside, a building at 44th and Thomas, which is going to be an office building and a training facility for the Suns and the Liberty, and has a 7-story, Sam Fox Hotel. I think we're all familiar with the location. Just in terms of the building height, I wanted to talk a little bit about it. This is the building height of the building. It's consistent with the building heights in downtown Phoenix. And one thing we're going to talk a little bit about it is also at the conjunction of almost every type of rail or kind of multimedia or multimodal transportation in the city, with the commuter rail, which we'll talk a little bit about in the future, certainly an old train depot. We have light rail bisecting the site. We have a streetcar line right in front of the site and a bus stop in front of the site. So it is a site that actually encourages density and wants density to try to encourage a bunch of different options to get to the site. Here's some pictures of the site. And again, the train depot. The train depot, and we've been working on this site for over 2 years, and certainly working with John and Alex and the historic preservation community, and with Ryan, Chad, and Saparna and Lee at the planning department. And we appreciate everybody's help, because this is not an easy site. And one of the things that makes it hard is this site is kind of on the western edge of the site and in the middle of the site. So that we had to work through both the bisection of the light rail, but also the location of the train depot and how to go above the train depot, which I will show you. So briefly, our request is to approve a PAD to establish site-specific development standards for the site and a DPR for the site and landscape plans. So again, we are asking for a new commercial development, which consists of the preservation and rehabilitation of the train depot, which was built in 1924, a 17-story office tower, an 18-story office tower, 23,970 square feet of indoor retail and restaurant bar use, 4,600 square feet of outdoor patio space, 22,000 square feet of public gathering space, a shared amenity deck, and a parking structure. And we have an office and a hotel, and our hotel will be a Hilton hotel. We already have, Hilton has signed up, and as you know, it's going to be a full service 5-star hotel, and so we're very excited. It has a lot of conference facility, which I will show you in a bit. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the site plan. So one of the things that we've done, we spent a lot of time working in the planning department, is you see the train depot structure here. We have a large open plaza space that we will be using to activate the area and kind of pull people into the plaza and to the train depot. So what we envision is having events, maybe similar to Centerpoint, where you have the Christmas tree lighting. You could do that also here. We're gonna have farmers markets, do things that will activate the space. But if you think of it, the way Centerpoint works, and that you had the Jackrabbits and the movie theater, like that is a very open plaza. And Red, if you know the other projects they do at Cityscape, are very good at pulling people together to have events in a public space. And we have, you'll see in some pictures, we have the retail, we have a restaurant right here with open patio space, then we'll have a hotel and retail. So let me show you. So this, just to show you a little bit about the restaurant, we have the restaurant bar here, and you can see all these meeting rooms here and then ballrooms to have a big conference facility when we're all able to kind of get back together again. And then we do have kind of this amenity deck that joins the office and the hotel. And for those of you who have been to Cityscape, it's a similar experience where you have that amenity deck with the restaurants on the amenity deck that join the hotel and the office on that side. So again, here's a picture, and you can see light rail as it bisects the site. This is the hotel and what we've been working with planning, and that you see that the parking garage has the architectural elements of the hotel. So you have the design of the hotel coming down to the ground. Then you have the office building. Again, the hotel design, office glass is brought to the ground. So you can see that we spent a lot of work working towards the front as it faces the east along this hotel, along Ash. You have the streetcar in the foreground. Then I think we had a bus over here. So again, this is right along Ash. You can see the restaurant that we have pulled to the front. What we anticipate is nice glass, open eating. It should be a nice experience along Ash. Then we'll have, this will be one of the first we're gonna have to build over light rail. And then we anticipate this will be a big public art space, which we think will be a big draw and add some color and interest to the garage. And then to the plaza. So you can see the plaza does two things. One, this is the activated plaza. This is the east side of the depot. Our plan for the depot is very similar to kind of how 100 Mill worked. Right now, when you go to the depot, you can certainly see the depot if you sit in the culinary dropout parking lot, but it's hard to see when you just go to Macayo's. But the plan is obviously to take off kind of the Macayo structure and then can bring back the depot so people can appreciate the depot. You can see here, you'll be able to see visual sightline from Ash to the depot through the plaza. And then our intent it'll have hotel here, actually hotel bar. It'll activate this whole plaza. And the plan is to see what the depot will become. I think at some meeting I think we mentioned it may be a coffee shop, it may be some kind of retail, it may be a bike shop, but it will be something that can be used for the public and to bring people to come experience the depot. So I don't know that many people know that it's sitting there. The other thing that we have been working with the city, as I think mayor and council knows, transportation department, is to give the city an easement kind of over here, the Porte Cochere, which will allow the city to put a kiosk when this does become a commuter rail stop, so that in the future, 10, 15 years from now, there will be a space for commuter rail, and this will become an active depot again. Just to give you the west side picture, on the west side, this is an existing approved, or not existing, but an approved parking garage that will go with an office building that will be located on 5th Street. So the garage on the west side will be blocked by a different garage. So there was a garage facing garage. To give you that side, this will what the depot will look like as you come on the west side. You'll be able to see the depot structure again. What we've been working with over time, over the past couple of years, is the Historic Preservation Commission, which we appreciate their time, and the Historic Preservation Foundation, is try to make sure that we gave room for the depot to breathe. So you'll see we kind of had to build the garage over the depot. We have air here so that it kind of provides shade and structure and preserves the whole depot. And then, as I mentioned here, we originally went to the HPC on May 13th. The project was presented. We have a support letter, I think, in your packet from the chairman, Chuck Buss, from the Historic Preservation Commission. This is the letter from John Southard talking about their support. And we've been to the Tempe Historic Preservation Foundation, and I believe you have a letter of support from them also. And then I think Mr. Yates mentioned the Old Town Square. We do have a letter of support from the Old Town Square Association. So that is a very brief presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a sec.
Thank you, Ms. Bond. I appreciate it. I see Councilmember Cubia has her hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Vaz, for the presentation. The support of the Historic Preservation Commission, as well as the Historic Preservation Foundation, and then all of the wonderful detail from John Southard, our Historic Preservation Officer. All that weighs very heavily in a positive way with me, inclining me towards the project. I so appreciate the fact that this venerated landmark will be kind of championed and lifted up. So I'm very appreciative of that. I just have a couple questions, and I see that there is problems with the landscape requirement being met because of all the catenary wires, and although I thought that was a wireless portion, but of the streetcar, so maybe you could elucidate on that a bit. But I realize you can't plant as many trees, but I'm wondering in that courtyard area, aren't there some, and also along the front of the building, can't there be some structural shade that's built in? It's one thing to have shade after 3, but when people are going for lunch and walking around, to be baking in the sun isn't ideal. So can anything more be done with structural shade in the front and in the courtyard?
Well, in the courtyard here, I'm going to screen in. Okay. So let's see. Sorry, one sec. I think this works better this way. So from the courtyard side, as you'll see, actually this entire area is shaded because you're underneath the garage. So the whole plaza is basically shaded in terms of kind of building shade. We have tried to, and I think most of the, and I might have Barry talk a little bit about the shade. Some of the issues that we had with the landscaping, and there are more trees, and we had to, some of the conflicts are not only with, well, I don't know if it's wireless or not, but it's actually in-ground utilities also along Ash. But we've put as many trees as we can. I think we're only missing the street shade requirement by 2 trees, and Barry can correct me, but I don't know, Councilwoman Kuby, that it's a lot less trees. And you'll certainly have a pretty active palette along Ash to kind of shade that, but a lot of this structure is over underneath the garage here, if you can see by the hotel, and then under the plaza here. So there is a lot of building shade that will help walking through the site.
That's more, you said more after 3 o'clock, right? I just wonder whether all structural shade possibilities have been exhausted, because, I'm thinking of the Union that's over there by ASU, and it's just murderous walking from City Hall to, where the Starbucks is. It's murderous in the morning, and by all the valley, the shade that's created in the afternoon is good, but I just hope that we have exhausted all possibilities with structural shade if we can't have shade trees.
Well, yeah, that's what we're looking at. We're trying to spend 2 years trying to work through this and put as much shade as we can, but and so I will get back to you with the percentage on the structural shade, because I think, and I may not, let me find out exactly the percentage of shade over the site, but I think we've exhausted all the possibilities. The other thing is with the Union, this is broken up a little bit because we do have this path through the plaza, right? The Union is much more of a kind of block where you have to walk through, and here people will mainly be walking along Ash and then walking through the plaza, which will mainly be shaded, because you wouldn't really be walking railway track. So we think that will also help, but let me get back to you and we can talk about some of the shade calculations.
Yeah, because there does seem gaps around the plaza, so maybe I can study it more, but it seems like there'd be some really sunny areas of the plaza, at least in the morning and early afternoon. The other question Mr. Mayor, but just one other aspect, and that's the parking. I know the requirement is 761, and you've gone for 1,118, so that's 357 spaces and you need. And this is a TOD, transportation-oriented development project, and you mentioned that the site has such access to the light rail and to a modern streetcar, and has such access to transportation, and to hotels in Tempe don't, and I know this from experience with visitors to ASU for conferences, don't bother with a car because it's so convenient to be in downtown Tempe and go to a conference. So why the excessive parking? Because like Mr. Yates said, it will tend to contribute to more traffic. And I could understand why you're doing the minimum. I wish the minimum was less. We could get into that discussion later about excessive parking, but why 307 more spaces than is required?
Well, Councilman Kuby, we are, yes, as you state, we are meeting the city center standard. We're parking at 3 per thousand, which is the parking requirement, and a lot less than a lot of the other parking in downtown Tempe. I mean, we've tried to whittle down the parking as much as we can. I can certainly, I don't know if Barry wanted to talk a little bit about it, but from a market standpoint, this is a lot less than the other buildings are parked in downtown. And as you and I have talked many times, we're trying to lower the market standard. We've also designed some portions of the garage, which, if you don't mind, I will have Barry talk about, so we can talk about, as you and I have talked many times, of what the future holds for the garage, that things can also happen differently with the garage if things change. But right now we're trying to, I think 3 per thousand is the lowest, that I've brought you in terms of an office building parking. And so from an office site, they do need the parking. Barry, if you want to talk about parking.
One more thing though, I think it's sort of unfair to criticize other developments, because I think we made some mistakes with other developments.
Yeah, no, understand.
but it's beyond the minimum. Like our minimum required is, according to your documents, is 761, and we're going for 1,118. So that's my concern. And I wonder too, since there are impacts with traffic, there undoubtedly must be, especially with excessive parking, that I would hope that we could find some way to have a public benefit to alleviate the traffic in the surrounding neighborhood.
Yes, Councilwoman Kuby, we've been working with the staff to help the city mitigate traffic impact to the surrounding neighborhood. And so we are working on a plan with the staff, which they will come discuss with you in executive session.
It's Barry Shanahan. Let me jump in here in addition. Councilwoman Kuby, I appreciate your comment. We've looked very closely at parking. Your city minimum is a very aggressive minimum relative to kind of what the market and people's expectations are. We agree completely that the transit-oriented nature of the site should allow us to be on the aggressive end of that range and what the market expectations are. And at 3 per thousand, we worked extensively with our traffic analyst, Don Cartier of CivTech, who's also available to us here for a question. And we're counting on promoting and leaning very hard into the light rail connectivity, streetcar connectivity, and that. But in order for the office building to be competitive with the projects that we have to compete with that are approved and under construction, we've got to be able to offer some parking that would meet the tenant, the people who sign the leases and occupy the building, to meet kind of what their expectations are. And we're actually, I think, probably more aggressive in that regard than many of the projects in the area. And I think that we're trending in the right direction and in setting the right tone. But it is something that we've looked at very closely, and the traffic has been analyzed, and all of that was acceptable with planning staff. So I appreciate the comment, but I really think that we're doing a tremendous job here of being as aggressive as we can in that regard.
And just one more comment, Mr. Mayor, and then I'll yield the stage. So sorry to take up so much time, but I want to get these questions asked. I can understand that argument for office space, although in COVID times, we don't know if we're going to be going back to the same kind of office occupancy that we had before COVID, but it's the hotel that concerns me and the amount of space, 0.3 space per unit, in the conference center, 1 space per 300 square feet, because I think being right on the light rail, right on the streetcar in downtown Tempe with all the conferences that come into us because of the university, I'm not sure where the market brings that standard, because there's still, it just seems like there's still less parking considered a hotel use.
Councilwoman Kobe, we appreciate that comment. I mean, we've tried to decrease the parking, and we can talk about it. But we, from the hotel standpoint, we do consider this a mini conference center, and so it's not so much the hotel has guests that, yes, I agree that more and more people are coming using Lyft. We do have certain numbers even from the parking side that we need to meet, and then certainly from conference side that we have parking for the hotel. So from a kind of a Hilton brand standard, we do need a certain amount of parking for the conference center portion of the hotel. But I would appreciate your comments. We will do what we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. I'm going to go with Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor. Much appreciate the time. Just a couple things. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to these developers, to you, Manjula, for them wanting to be in Tempe. I think it's kind of pretty exciting. I mean, this is a large undertaking and a really large area and kind of centric for the city of Tempe. So I think it's very important that we get this right. And I've got to say, you've spent a lot of time and done some due diligence of really just trying to make sure that this project is a great fit and that everybody is on board. And I get it, we're not always going to please everyone, but I think you've done a really thoughtful and an intentional, purposeful type development that really incorporates and honors the history of the train depot, which is really great. I know I told you what I thought about honoring the train depot and how that goes. So I certainly appreciate this. I think you've gone above and beyond, and I think that's really fantastic. And I will say this too in regards to the parking. I mean, I'm kind of on the opposite side of Councilmember Cubie. I'd rather have a little bit more than not enough. And I realize that in order for you to, have a successful hotel and the businesses, I mean, those individuals that are going to come in and want to do business in Tempe are going to want to ensure that there's parking available. So I certainly respect that. And I'm sure that you guys have a good plan in place to encourage more people to utilize multimodal. Just because they could park doesn't mean that they will. And I'm totally fine with what you guys feel is reasonable and comfortable. I don't feel like there needs to be any changes in that. I do understand the one thing that I see when you go and you look at the design itself is the coverings for the garage. I think you guys have done a really phenomenal job, throughout the building with a lot of glass and really cool structure at the plaza. I guess maybe those details aren't worked out yet. It just feels like that garage covering seems pretty generic and basic to me, that it feels like we could really do something a lot more artistic and creative and just really amplify the whole aesthetics overall. So something that I was thinking about that. And then also in the plaza, which I love, and I do think the majority of it's going to be shaded, so I certainly respect that too. I just wonder, I mean, can you soften it up a little bit? And I say that because sometimes you get a lot of cement and it's not necessarily overall aesthetically pleasing, but maybe just with some artistic creative things within it. And I guess I'm not asking for specifics right now because maybe you have not quite gotten to that point yet. So I just am throwing that out there for things to consider as you move forward, that you really think about it as somebody that's coming to visit and really wanting to not let them to be there and check out the retail of the hotel, but really take their time and enjoy that plaza. I think that's going to be something that could be really an advantage. because it's so cool and so different and something that we've never seen. And you guys aren't going to hear me complain or moan about the size or how tall it is, because I'm usually the one that does. But I do think that it's really important that this building is high quality, and it sure looks like that. So I do appreciate a quality structure. You know, when we get away from stick and stucco and actually see some cement and steel and glass, I mean, that's right up my alley. I can certainly appreciate that. So, you know, I'm pretty excited to see this evolve and come to fruition. I think you guys have definitely done your due diligence, like I said earlier. Maybe just a few tweaks as we go through it and get some feedback from not only myself, but my council colleagues too. And just make sure this is the best project and that it can be. So I'm grateful and appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate those comments.
And that was like, oh yeah, I'll go ahead and change the garage structure covering. Did I hear you say that too?
Council, to answer that question, I think two things. One, I think some of it may be, we'd be happy to sit down with you and show you some pictures. Some of the renderings, I've had this other conversation, doesn't come across as well on my computer screen. I think the garage coverings probably look a little better in person than they may come on the screen, so I would like to show it to you. We can certainly talk about that. And certainly in terms of the plaza, you don't see, but there will be, you know, obviously vegetation. It's not going to be all concrete. You can certainly soften it up with some flowers and some other things, pots that will make it softer. And, you know, and I think if you go through Cityscape, you can see kind of the kind of open, active space that bread creates within an open plaza. So
Yeah.
we're certainly happy to come talk to you about that.
Yeah, for sure. That's really great. You know what? I just one last question. I guess I'm assuming this is probably happening, but I would guess that all that glass is like dual pane, you know, noise canceling type of glass, right? Just because
That's
I think
correct.
it's going to be kind of going to be a little bit noisy.
Yes, no, we have, yes, thank you for saying that. I apologize for not saying that. Certainly we've run noise studies, and Commissioner Amorosi asked us that at the DRC, both in terms of, I mean, obviously being close to the train as it comes through. We have the airport noise and other things that we've certainly run noise studies to make sure that both the office tenants and the hotel will be able to obviously be well and comfortable.
Yeah, well, good. I certainly appreciate that, and again, I look forward to coming to fruition. And I would just say, I mean, I understand Councilmember Cuby's concerns about the multimodal and wanting people to get out of their cars. You know, maybe it'd be helpful, and I could certainly support, you know, just maybe some of your thoughts and ideas of how you are going to encourage, you know, some of those individuals that may be working there or staying at the hotel, and, you know, what enticements you might have to encourage them to get out of their cars.
Okay, no, absolutely. We have been talking with Valley Metro, and so when I come back, when we come back from the second hearing, happy to discuss it with you.
Fantastic. I like it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with a lot of Councilmember Arredondo Savage's comments. I think this is an awesome project, and it's just so impressive. I'm very happy too about the historic preservation support that you've had. And then I have a question. I have a couple questions, but one is, can you describe, Ms. Voss, your neighborhood outreach that took place?
Oh, yes, Councilwoman Adams. Yes, we had a neighborhood meeting in, obviously, these things happen in COVID, but we had a neighborhood meeting that happened, I think, correct me, but probably early, sometime in July, I believe, June or July. We had it online. We had approximately 3 or 4 people attend. In addition, we have a website that has been open and available for the neighbors to go to with all of our renderings and all the information related to the site. And then, of course, you know, we've been to the Historic Preservation Commission several times. I think all of those meetings are publicized and available to see. So we've tried to reach out to everybody that we could, and certainly to the people we could, try to get them to talk to other neighbors, but obviously within the COVID protocols.
Great. Councilmember Adams, anything else? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go to Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you. Oh, God. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the presentation. It really, for me, and I know you guys have been working at this for a while, and I know there was a lot of complication to that site, especially with the historical value of it, and then what you're going to put there. So I'm just want to let you know, I think this is perfect. I think we had some, council members ask some great questions about, what are the possibilities. You answered them, looking at parking, things like that. What if down the road, one of those parking stalls or floors, the top one, could be converted into something else if parking was drastically reduced? Who knows? But I think there's some opportunity there, maybe. Long and short is, and I know Robin loves to hear me say long and short, so I say it just to make her mad. But she owes me money too. But also, I think that the project, with the plaza and what you're doing, interacting with the historical piece is going to be perfect. And I'm looking forward to it. That's pretty much it. It's going to be a great project. The hotel I'm excited about. The fact that there's more conference space I'm excited about. That's why the parking needs to be adjusted to it. You guys do your due diligence on this stuff. I know that when you do a development, and I visit Cityscape quite a bit, so I'm around there. The only one complaint I could say, though, that could use a little more trees. It is kind of brutal in the sun during the summer, but that's about it. But when it's the rest of the seasons, it's great. But I think this translates a little bit different with the plaza and what we can do there. So there's a little difference in the elements of that. But I like the fact what you guys have done in the Cityscape area and in just making that area so walkable. I think this has the same feel, and I think it's really going to really incorporate a lot of good vibe within that area. And I'm really encouraged it's going to incorporate some vibe within the neighborhood. So I'm just really supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Navarro.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. I'm going to go to Councilmember Garland.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I enjoyed the presentation, Manjula, and I enjoyed it so much that I even went back and watched the DRC presentation. And today, again, I am just so intrigued about how you can bring all of the elements of the multimodal, everything that's going to be going on around this building and incorporate it and make it seem comfortable. And for me, it seemed welcoming in the pictures that I saw. I really enjoyed that, so thank you. I also have to say that the fact that you have the Historic Preservation Commission, the Historic Preservation Foundation, Tempe's Historic Preservation Officer, all in support of this scores really high with me because the historic preservation is really super important to me. So I'm really glad you did that. And I have to say, also, I agree with Joel, what Joel just said about the conference space. It's gonna be nice to have conference space in here. One thing is the artwork that's on the side of that garage. Those birds really do not get me excited, but I think you guys could watch the December 3rd work study session. We're going to have the Indigenous Design Collaborative from ASU. They're going to be doing a presentation. Their artwork is amazing. They've got some incredible artists there that are local artists, and to be able to talk to them or listen to them or see them and possibly have them give you some ideas, or you could use them to do some artwork designs or something that are native designs from this area and that reflect the first people from this community, and put those designs on the side of that garage or anywhere else on this property, I think would be amazing. So that's my only thought. Thank you so much, Manjula. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, Councilmember, thank you so much. I appreciate your comments. Yeah, and to the birds, we appreciate those. That's not actually the art that we intend to do, as I think you know. That art actually was done by a local artist in Dallas, and that is the art that's on the Dallas at the Union that I showed you. But we just wanted to show you, to your point, that we had talked to Rebecca, we want to use a local artist, so I appreciate the information, and certainly will attend or at least watch the December 3rd. But yeah, we intend to work with Rebecca, and would certainly like to work with you to find a local artist that will work.
That is great. Thank you so much, Manjula.
Great, thank you, Manjula. I've got a question. Actually, Councilmember Adams is having some problems with her microphone.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and call her here, and I'm going to try to get her questions on the record here.
Corey?
Oh, you're there. Councilmember, can you hear?
Mr. Mayor, I have unmuted Councilmember Adams.
Okay, let's see.
If she is speaking through her city cell phone, she should be able to be heard like before.
Okay, Councilmember Adams, can you hear me? Nope. Okay. All right, let me try this again. I'm going to call her again. So Ms. Voss, so talking to Councilmember Adams, she said she wants to kind of echo some of Councilmember Arredondo Savage's comments regarding taking a look at sort of maybe some tweaks, whatever, to the garage design. So she just wanted to kind of second that.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, we appreciate that. I will certainly follow up with her and show the pictures that we can talk about the garage design.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, sure. So Ms. Voss, Councilmember Adams is saying that her system broke up a little bit, whatever, when you were talking about sort of the neighborhood outreach that you did. She wanted to see if you could do a really quick synopsis of that once again so she could hear it.
Okay. Councilwoman Adams, can you hear me? So
she can probably hear you through a computer. She can hear you through the computer. She just can't communicate through the computer.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Mayor. So just briefly, as I mentioned, we had a neighborhood meeting in July. We had approximately 3 or 4 people attended. We sent letters out to the to the neighborhood associations, within a mile. We also have that meeting was conducted online in conjunction with the COVID protocols. We also have a website that has been up since July that has all this information on it, answers questions so that anybody could access the web. Our web address was put into the letters. We, of course, have been to the Historic Preservation Commission twice. I believe their commission hearings are on video. And I have reached out to different members in the neighborhood and through the Historic Preservation Commission as I could within the COVID protocols this summer. So, we've tried to reach out to as many people as we can, and anybody who would like to talk to us. Does that, Mr. Mayor, would you mind asking her?
She's actually saying to me, she was asking, how did the neighbors actually that you reached out to, how did they respond to your outreach?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, the neighbors that I've talked to, and I think, in terms of the Historic Preservation Commission, and just the neighbors that came to our neighborhood meeting were supportive of the project. We had one neighbor from the lofts who wanted just to talk about, most of them wanted to talk about construction noise when we actually start construction. They were concerned because right now they hear construction noise from the streetcar. And so, as you know, some of those neighbors who live in downtown just wanted to know how we were going to manage streetcar noise. They seemed supportive of the project, similar to what you've seen from, I've talked to Karen Gillis, Maple Ash is immediately next to him. She knows some other people that I've heard from. All the comments have been generally positive, happy. to see something on the site. As I think many of the council know, that site does not have any type of protection on the depot. And so, and I did not mention this, but we, certainly have had several other potential proposals for the site in which they were going to take down the depot. So I think the neighbors that I've talked to are happy that the depot is being preserved and interested in the project as we presented it.
Thank you, Ms. Voss. I'm going to ask her here. Hold on here. So Councilmember Adams says that she's very excited that the depot is being preserved, and she really appreciates the efforts by the developer. And it just shows the, the ethics and sort of the high quality standards, whatever, to obviously preserve a Tempe landmark.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
And, she's got one more thing she's going to tell me here, so hold on one second.
Okay.
She also asked, her last question was with the garages and talking about how people are kind of moving more towards like a sustainable lifestyle, multimodal transportation. If for whatever reason there becomes less of a need for some of the garage space, can any of the garage space be converted into hotels down the line? If it's hotel rooms, if it's no longer needed?
So, Manjula, it's Barry from Red.
Yes.
Interestingly, Mayor Woods and Councilwoman Adams, that actually has already started in the project. In the laying the project out in an effort to not have the hotel be any higher than it had to be, one of the things that we did is we brought about 14,000 square feet of the back of house space in the hotel down. So while there'll be a kitchen at the primary level, some of the food prep will be down, the laundry has been brought down, etc. So we actually began to consume a portion of the top level of parking to be the back of house space for the hotel. And depending upon the success of the hotel and those types of things, dimensionally, there's enough room from floor to floor to allow us to be able to look at those types of things in the future as the project evolves.
Okay, she just asked, what was the last sentence you said? She's like, it cut out a little bit towards the end.
Basically was just speaking to the fact that we've actually already begun to do that, and we brought some of the back of house space down into the parking garage. The floor to floor height will allow us to do that type of thing as the project in the hotel evolve over time.
So, Mayor, what's good?
Ms. Voss, hold on one second here. Sorry, hold on here. Okay, she just wanted to say whatever, that she's very excited about the project and she really hopes that it moves forward. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Any other members of council have any comments or questions for Ms. Voss? All right. Given that there are none, once again, this is a first public hearing this evening, so we're not going to vote on this item until December 3rd, 2020. So we just really appreciate you coming forward and giving a presentation, and also appreciate the public for coming forward for public comment. So thank you so much. All right. And just the last item here on the agenda, just wanted to make an announcement that The applicant for agenda item 6C1 has requested that this item be formally continued to the December 3rd, 2020 regular council meeting, and therefore will not be voted upon this evening. If members of the public submitted comments on this item, item 6C1, they will be read and heard on December 3rd. Next up here, we have item number 7, which is current events, council announcements, and future agenda items. I'm going to call on the council to see if they have any comments this evening. Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I might have a little display here. See if it comes up.
Jason, I have given you presenter rights. Go ahead and share your screen for your presentation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this Saturday, December 5th, from 8:30 to 10 a.m., we're going to try our first virtual coffee talk with Java with Joel. And basically, we would like to talk with the 85282 area on how housing is in their area. I know this is a hot topic within the city, but I think it's important to really kind of get a gauge of our community and different zip codes and kind of get a temperature of what we're seeing in those certain areas and how effective we're addressing it or how effective we can address it. So if you can, come and join our virtual community meeting from 8:30 to 10 a.m. on Saturday, December 5th. I think it's going to be a great conversation. So housing, and then if we can, we're also going to have some interactive questions through the format here. So we can actually poll and get some real feedback from the attendees on this. And we get a lot of attendees on this. We're going to have some great information. I know a lot of people don't often like to chime in, but we're going to give a opportunity to be able to vote or to express your feelings and through charts and systems, and then we'll be able to analyze those things throughout the meeting. So I think it's going to be a fun meeting. I look forward to it, and that is December 5th. The last thing I would like to say is very sad thing. We had a member of the Valley that passed away yesterday. Wayne Howard was a real good friend of mine. He also was a tremendous supporter in a variety of different areas, giving back to the community in so many different ways. And I'll have to tell you that he's going to be a man well missed. And unexpected passing for Wayne, and we're going to deeply miss him, and my condolences go out to him and his family, and rest in peace. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Councilmember Navarro. Councilmember Cubie?
Yes, I'd like to add my condolences to the Howard family as well. Lucia especially, and Nico, and I don't know the other family members, but I know that Wayne was a larger-than-life personality. Having just met with him last week, felt his spirit so strongly that day, and I'm so sad for the family and such a loss for our community. So I wanted to talk about some delightful news, and that a Tempe resident was the first awardee of the Salute to Service Award from the School for the Future of Innovation and Society, which is part of the College of Global Futures, a new college at ASU. And this year they decided to expand on the idea of service and include not just military service, but service on the front lines. And Jason, as a Safeway employee, a grocery store clerk, has certainly been on the front lines of this pandemic, and he shows up to work every shift and he feels like he's contributing to society and helping people get through a difficult time in our history. He also was on the Mayor's Youth Advisory Commission as well, and has served the School for the Future of Innovation Society in such a robust way. So I have a little video to show for our Tempe resident Jason George. Here we go. Let's hope the sound works. Actually, I don't think there is sound. Just read. So congratulations, Jason. We're very proud that you're a Tempe resident, and we know that you have a very bright future ahead of you. I also, I'm sad. It's bittersweet news about Ralph Remington leaving. He has done so much for arts and culture in our city and really brought this idea, this concept of the public square to the Tempe Center for the Arts. And I know we have still December to champion and celebrate him, but I just wanted to give a word. It's bittersweet because we're losing him, but it's the sweetest compliment for the city and county of San Francisco to steal him away from us. And I know I will miss his voice, a profound voice in our city. So congratulations, Ralph, for your new assignment, and you've made such a difference here in Tempe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. Councilmember Garland?
Hi, thank you, Mayor. I just want to also give my condolences to Wayne Howard's family and to Nico and Dax, and just say I'm just very sorry. I've only met him a few times, but he was a really big voice in this community, and I just want to say I'm sorry, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Garland. Next up, Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. You know what, I just want to take a second and just also share my condolences with the Wayne Howard family. I mean, he is an incredible man, and he will certainly be missed. He has always been so supportive of our community, the city of Tempe, and me, myself, you know, within my career, and I'm grateful for that. And having him in my life and in my corner, it's been very rewarding, and I'm very sad and heartbroken for the Wayne Howard family and the friends around him. So just my thoughts and condolences to him, and also to Ralph. Looking at it, it looks like our December 3rd meeting might be a little packed. So Ralph, I'm just going to take a second and say thank you for everything that you've brought to the city of Tempe. You definitely brought us to a completely different level, and I know you are going to do wonderful in your next chapter. So I wish you the very best. I've really enjoyed working with you, and I know you're on to great things. So thank you for all that you've done for our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Councilmember Adams.
Mr. Mayor, I have Councilmember Adams on my phone. I'm going to put her on speaker right now, and hopefully she'll come through. Councilmember Adams, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. My condolences also to the Wayne Howard family. He was an amazing gentleman and a leader in the community, and was always trying to help other people out, and I will miss him greatly. Second is I do have my Join Jennifer coming up. It'll be happening on December 2nd at 6 p.m. and it'll be for the 85284 neighborhood. But of course, everyone in the city is welcome to attend. So we will be going over water conservation. Tina Sleeper from the City Waters Conservation actually she's the City Water Conservation Coordinator. She'll be talking about conserving water and changing water schedules because of the cooler weather. So we don't have to water as much. So we're going to be talking about that and how to respond to the cooler weather. Also, interim Police Chief Jack Glover will be talking about his background and goals for the police department. Also, Sergeant Robert Ferrara will provide crime stats for 85284 and talk about the amazing things the police have accomplished lately. A third item is CARE 7. I just want to remind people with COVID and the extreme effect that it's having on our community, and the holidays are coming up, that there is help. The City of Tempe, CARE 7 is offering 3 free counseling sessions by licensed clinical social workers. And we'll be doing those over the phone because of COVID, but I really encourage people to go for that, and if you're stressed out, which a lot of people are, all you have to do is call 480-350-8004. That's 350-8004 to schedule a counseling session. let's see, and this is the last meeting before our Thanksgiving, so I just want to wish all of our community members happy Thanksgiving. That is all.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Adams. Just a couple of things on my end, too. First of all, I did want to congratulate Ralph Remington. I know it's a little premature since he'll be with us for a little bit longer, with the city of Tempe, but obviously it's a huge loss for the city of Tempe and just the amazing things he's done on behalf of the arts and the entire community. I've really appreciated getting to know him and becoming friends with him. And so I just wanted to say, Ralph, thank you for everything you've done for our city and for our government. And obviously, our loss is San Francisco's gain, and I'm, just very confident they picked the right guy to come lead that department. So just, once again, thank you for everything for the years that you've given to the city of Tempe, and we are truly going to miss having you right here in our town. And also wanted to say, too, my condolences to the family of Wayne Howard. One of the things about Wayne that I wanted to note was people loved Wayne because he was a larger-than-life personality. He was an amazing man, but he was also incredibly loyal to the people around him. If you knew Wayne and he was your friend, he always had your back. And that was one of the things that I really grew to really know and love and respect about Wayne Howard. And it's one of the many reasons why you've seen so many people, especially on social media, just getting online and sort of talking about their personal remembrances of him. This is this could be a very challenging business, quite honestly, but Wayne was the kind of person who wasn't just a businessman. He was a real person who really cared about the people that he came into contact with and was a friend and a mentor and a supporter to so many throughout this community. And we will obviously miss him tremendously. He was a really great man and someone who really made a huge impression on me during the time that I got a chance to know him. So to his entire family, I just wanted to say my sincere condolences to you, and whatever you need, please let us know. We are definitely all here for you. And to his son Nico, who I met through Wayne, and I became friends with him as well. I just wanted to say, I'm really sorry for your loss. And if there's anything, anything we can do to be of any assistance to you, please don't hesitate to let us know. But Wayne was a truly great man who did some just incredible things here in the Phoenix area and frankly throughout the entire state of Arizona. So we are really going to miss him.
Mayor, you are muted all of a sudden.
Okay, I'm back. Next up here, we have item number 8, which is public appearances. I had one card here for Mr. Earl Taylor. Is he present?
I believe so, sir. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
I am unmuting him now. Stand by.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Taylor.
Mayor and Council, my name is Taylor Earl. I'm a zoning attorney with the law firm of Earl and Curley. Normally, our firm would be in front of council presenting a zoning case, but tonight, I'm just here to say thank you. My father is Stephen Earl, a man whom I would say was a giant in the zoning community for decades. Actually worked with Mr. Howard as well. As some of you know, my father, in addition to Mr. Howard, recently and suddenly passed away. During his decades of practice as a zoning attorney, he represented numerous cases in the city of Tempe. Among his most notable projects in the city would probably include IKEA and Arizona Mills, among others. My father was proud of his work in the city of Tempe. Tempe was where he raised his family, myself included. He called Tempe home for over 20 years. He worked on wonderful projects and valuable collaborations in the city. His work to help build the community meant so much to him throughout his life. But I recognize that none of his accomplishments in the city could have happened without the work of many individuals in Tempe. So please tonight, let me just say thank you. First, thank you to the members of the City Council, both past and present, for your engagement and leadership on those many cases you worked on. Thank you to the members of the Development Review Commission, both past and present, for detailed analysis, thoughtful questions and comments, and for pushing his projects to be better. And thank you to the many wonderful city employees, planners, directors, city managers, city attorneys, and everyone else over the many years who collaborated with him to turn good projects into great projects. Thank you for helping to make my father's career more than just a job. To him, one of his great life's purposes was to bring good development to the valley, including Tempe, and to do so with integrity, professionalism, and respect for everyone he interacted with. So thank you on behalf of my family, our firm, and myself. I want you to know that for all the sacrifices you make to serve the community, those sacrifices are appreciated. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Earl. Really appreciate it. Madam City Attorney, Mr. Earl was listed on the agenda, correct? To speak?
This is the city clerk. He had submitted a public comment card. Mayor.
Excellent. Now, I only asked just for the purpose of actually just wanting to make sure that I could respond. I just wanted to say to Mr. Earl, thank you very much for coming to speak this evening. Your father was also a great man, and I can recount a story of working on a project with your father. I believe it was back in 2014. It was the Wilson Street Townhomes project in South Tempe. And I remember working back and forth with him, who was the zoning attorney for the project, and working with Ron and Judy Tapscott in the Altamira neighborhood, and working with them on trying to get this project approved. And, you know, I went back and forth between the Tapscotts and between your father, Steve Earl, for probably about a couple of weeks between the first hearing and the second hearing, trying to get an agreement struck between the two. And I can tell you that your father was an incredible man who just incredibly just smart and caring, knew, you know, zoning and, you know, and the law just like the back of his hand. And quite honestly, it was a real true pleasure to work with him. And we ended up getting the deal done where both the neighborhoods, as well as Mr. Earl, they both, you know, came into an agreement and shook hands, and the project, I believe, was approved 7-0. But that was just one story of probably hundreds, if not thousands, of cases that your father worked on with the utmost skill and integrity and honor. And it really, truly was an honor to work with your father, and specifically to work with him on that project. I will frankly never forget the time that we spent working on that, and all the phone conversations and the in-person meetings. And I will tell you, he was an absolute dignified class act and an incredible human being. So I just wanted to thank you very much for coming to share your remembrances of him. And he was really a great man. Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. You said it so eloquently. And Mr. Earl, I just want to say thank you so much for staying and speaking tonight. You know, that just kind of shows, I think, how your family is very dedicated to the community and to what you do. So much honor, so much integrity. I loved working with your dad. He was so cool and calm and collected and never got upset and always worked for a solution. And the last project that we worked on, we pushed him really hard to talk about affordable housing. And, you know, he graciously committed to donating some money from the developer, but also from himself to really help kickstart and put some money into our housing trust fund. And, you know, that people like that just don't come along all the time. And I just really enjoyed and knew when I worked with him on a project that we would get to a good place, and that development would be better because of the work that he put into it. So obviously it runs in the family, and it was truly an honor to work with him. And we look forward to more good work from you and others, and just a big thank you. And what a heartbreaking loss I'm sure it is for you and for so many others. But he truly has made an impact on this community, and I am grateful, so grateful for him being part of my life and part of this community too. And we're better because of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Councilmember Cubie.
Oh, I just wanted to say that your father was a kind and thoughtful and decent man, and he obviously loved the city of Tempe very much. Though he moved away from it, his heart never left. And I was so touched by all the images in the memorial service, this celebration of life, and just seeing his whole life in those images. It was very moving, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. All right, is anyone else? All right, hearing none, We don't, Madam Clerk, we don't have any other public appearances, do we?
No, Mr. Mayor, that was it.
Okay, with that said, then I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 8:35 p.m. Thank you very much, everyone. And as Councilmember Adams said, please have a happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you back here on December 3rd.